Hello, my name is Ben, and you are watching Sunday Funday.
Don't you know it? Don't you know it? Don't you know it? Don't you know it? Sunday.
All right. What we're going to be doing today is we are going to be setting up a track for a recent song that I worked on in collaboration with my 4-year-old daughter for the first time. And it's just a simple thing, really. But what I wanted to show you for today, just to get right to it, is how to set up a session within Pro Tools for Maschine for the purposes of recording, and how to set up things like outputs and recording levels and things of that nature. I've never really been able to capture a good video for that ever. So that's the purpose that we're after for today. So let's create a number of new tracks that are going to help us. Let's go Command-Shift-New in my Pro Tools session. And I'm going to go ahead and create my stereo Maschine track. And I'm going to call it Maschine Source, just SE for source. And then I'm going to go ahead and create a number of stereo tracks. And let's just, doesn't matter what they're called for now, but let's just go ahead and call them audio, and we'll name them as we go, as we know what they are. So we have our tracks, and let's make things a bit smaller. I'm going to color that just a different color, just whatever. There we go. Make it a little bit bigger. And let's go ahead and add Maschine. So Maschine 2. Take just a minute to load this up. So while this loads up, the purpose, again, for today is going to be to load up the song. This is the show. And to set up outputs to record. And that's the name of the game for today. So let's go. This is the show. This project was modified. Do you want to save it? No. Because there's nothing on here right now. So that's fine. We'll just keep what we got. This works perfectly fine. And it's going to load up. This is the show. It's a somewhat CPU-heavy session, and that is because there's this badass, just ultra badass, toy box patch that I have set up within a bass pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up this patch. Where's our bass patch? Let's get to the sound side of things. And let's just kill that for now. See if that tones down the CPU of things. Cool. So we know that that's muted and kind of taken out of the picture for now, and we don't need it. But for all of the other sounds, what we want to do is capture good levels for everything, for the entire performance. So we're going to need to go into the group and sometimes into the sound level, and we're going to need to set up outputs for all of these guys and go ahead and get good levels, what I'd like to say are good levels within Pro Tools. And I'll walk you through, my process for getting this accomplished. So typically I've done this before an episode or before, and it takes a little bit of time, but, you guys will stick with me. If this is useful for you, then great. If not, then obviously you know how to do this already, and good for you. But for those of you that don't, what I'm going to do is go ahead and start by setting up the various outputs. Now there's 16 that I can work with at any given recording session. So if I have more than 16 sounds in my machine, I don't think I do. But if I do have more than 16, then I will have to do 2 recording sessions essentially to pass through the song multiple times. And that's what I'll have to do. And so depending on where I am in Pro Tools, it actually syncs up the timeline. You see, once I select somewhere, say if I put my cursor on bar 41, or just damn close, 41, something. I'm at bar 41 here in Maschine, right? So if I get to the end, if I want to audition the end or whatnot, I can do that. So what I'd actually like to do is make the end of this just a little bit longer so that we can make sure that we capture the end of the song, which just kind of rings out this one vocal sample. But anyway, cool. And what we're going to do is start by sending out all the outputs. So within the sound, so I have, the first thing is this kit. And if I just start by playing it, we'll hit play on the timeline. Okay, so machine's going, right? So cool. Now what we want to do is set up the outputs. So there are these, let's see, it looks like just these 3 sounds. Let's play it again. Yeah, it's just these 3 sounds. It's just these 3 sounds in this pattern. Okay, cool. So we'll have to see how the performer goes out. At any rate, let's record. We're basically going to break down the outputs for each of these 3 sounds into their own output. So I'm just going to start with 2. That's just what I typically do. So I'm going to go into sound mode here. I'm going to click on the little knob icon, and instead of sending the destination, the audio to the group, I'm going to send it to external. Can I use 1? I suppose I can use 1. No, let's just use 2 to be safe. That's what I always do. So we use 2, and then go with this one instead of the group, going to 2, and same with this one instead of the group. Oh no, not that one's not 2 as well. This one goes to 3, and this one goes to 4. All right, so let's play that back and see what we got. Yeah, now we got nothing coming out of that track. But if we go ahead and set up the outputs for Pro Tools, or sorry, the inputs. So we're going to use plugin, Maschine, and external, starting with 2, and 3, and 4. Let's see what we got. Let's input monitor each of these 3 tracks. So I'm going to go ahead and hold Alt Shift and click on this input monitor button. So if I want to do that cool performer sound, I'm gonna have to send that out to its own as well. So if we go, what if we go 5 on that? What does that sound like? No, didn't do anything. No audio's going to it. So what we could do though is we could send the snare sound back to the group. That's where it gets interesting. So we can send the snare sound back to the group. And then here, this is just master. Yep, and then we can capture it. We can capture it that way. So that'll work for now, and we'll capture the delays that way. Okay, yeah, it captures the whole snare, but also with the delays. So we'll go ahead and we'll leave it that way. And then there's a clean one, which we can use as well. So there we go. We have some outputs set up for that. We'll leave that set to master for now. And then on the sound level, this needs to go back to, where is it? 2, 3. All right, cool. So let's call this and then this is snare, and then this is hi-hat. And then this one is snare plus delay. It's gonna be tough. But maybe the snares can be clipped out if we just want to keep the delays. That'll work. But at any rate, we have now outputs set up for the first 3 pieces. And so here is how I'm going to show you basically what I do, what my method is for really dialing in the level, to make sure the level is optimal, to make sure it sounds good, and that it's going to serve you well throughout the mixing process. So understand that right now, it may sound like garbage. It's not going to be well balanced amongst itself within Pro Tools, but the goal is to get each channel, each track, if it were, each channel within Pro Tools set to an optimal level for recording. And my goal is typically to get it right, the average volume, I mean, right to this sort of -20, -19 or so mark. So you see the kick is already running way too hot to be, for my tastes, it's not really into the red right now. So what I like to do is I like to get the volume of each channel right around -19, -20. So I'll play the track, and like the kick, for example, is way too hot. And so I'll come into the sound. Yeah, still too hot. Come down by about another 5 or so. Let's try. Like the hottest sounds coming in at around that level, you see? Just like kissing the yellow or light green. And then same for the snare, way too hot. So I'll decrease that by about 10. We'll start there. A little too much. Let's go by about 5. Still too much. There we go. It's very hot in terms of in the mix. So this is where, you know, we can make the taste adjustment here in Pro Tools and decrease it by about 5 to 10, 3 to 6, 5, 10, whatever. It's better. So anyway, we'll keep it, you know, like it's not going to sound that tasteful right now. So understand that. I'm not making a mix right now. I'm setting it up to record.